Hi, my name is Megan Davenport. I'm a third year PhD student at Rice University, and I'm in the Industrial and Organizational Psychology department. How I got to graduate school was not a linear path at all. I did not come into undergrad or even necessarily come out of undergrad knowing that I wanted to go to graduate school. What happened is nonlinear, but I think made me a better scientist and graduate student, and I want to share that with you. So, when I was an undergrad, I held some student leadership positions. And when I held those positions, it really got me thinking about how different organizations work. These student leadership positions were in these organizations that were essentially socially constructed, right? If everybody stopped doing what they were doing and nobody was getting paid to do it, the organization wouldn't exist. And so it really got me thinking about how much people matter in terms of whether organizations achieve their goals. People really make or break what organizations are and what they can do. And so after I graduated from undergrad, I worked at a public charter school district and I did teacher certification for 3 years. So during that time, I got to support teachers and get them through the certification process with the state of Texas. And I did a lot of tracking, a lot of communication, a lot of interpreting the Texas Administrative Code and making sure that what we were doing was in compliance with those things. But during that time, I got to help hire people. I became a manager of a very small team. And in general, I just got to really experience all of the different phenomena that are discussed in an industrial organizational psychology class. So when I took the class in undergrad, we talked about hiring, we talked about setting goals, we talked about feedback, we talked about performance evaluations, training, teamwork, communication. And I had had jobs previously before undergrad and during undergrad, but never full time. And so once I was in a full-time job in a real workplace, I realized just how much all of these different things that seem so abstract in class really matter, and they change your whole experience. And I realized what an impact your work has on all aspects of your life, from your mood when you get home, to your friends at work who become your friends outside of work potentially, to the balance you have to strike between your career trajectory and maybe your family trajectory or your other goals in life. And I was interested in looking at all of these issues from a bigger picture than just myself experiencing them as an employee. And I wanted to figure out the why behind how people operate at work. And that was something that I continued to be interested in the entire time that I was working, just like why, what is happening at a broader level? And that is why I decided eventually to apply to grad school, because I knew that I wanted to kind of zoom out from my own experience and try to get at the why. So I think a great perk of working before graduate school is that if you don't get into graduate school, you still have your job. So for me, that meant that taking the leap to apply was a little bit less scary, because I knew, okay, I really want to go and I really hope that I get in, but if I don't, I still have this role. I still have that level of security. And so that made all my applications seem like, okay, well, if this happens, it'll be a bonus. It will make my life better. But if it doesn't, my life will stay the same. So it was all upside for me. And I think additionally that working has just made me a better IO psychologist. Even though I only worked after college for 3 years, every time I read an article, I'm not just looking at the science of it, the experimental design, but I'm also able to connect conceptually to my own experience in really meaningful ways and say, oh, well, when I was working, here's how goal setting felt, or here's how 360-degree feedback that I was receiving from my coworkers, here's how that worked, and here's how it felt, and here's some of the dynamics that I experienced, and then look at the dynamics that the science is trying to get at and what the science is saying, and connect them and really make research come alive. So my area of focus in my research is how work plays out across the lifespan. So the US workforce is aging as people not only live longer, but also work longer, often past the traditional retirement age. And so this creates an opportunity to understand how these changing demographics of the workforce impact the workplace broadly, but also how the aging process and this process of continual development that we're all going through as we age, no matter what our current chronological age is, we're all growing and changing in different ways. And so I'm interested in how these changes impact how we experience work. So, for example, a current study that I'm conducting right now focuses on the ways that computer-based training can be improved for older adults. So, not only do people go through age-related shifts in physical abilities, mental abilities, but people also change over time in terms of their personality, their motivation, their self-concept, their goals, and countless other dimensions and factors that can impact how they come into a training and approach it, how they think of themselves as a trainee, what strategies they might use in training, how they react to different things that might happen during a training. All of these things kind of come into play, intersect with each other, and it's just really interesting to try to piece together what small changes could organizations make in how they design training to make them more effective for everyone across age groups. So I'm interested not only in how these age-related changes impact training performance, but I'm also interested in other outcomes. For example, these same things, having different motivation, having different abilities, having built up skills over your lifespan, they might also impact how older adults approach looking for a job, or how they approach giving and receiving feedback in the workplace, how they approach their relationship with their manager, for example. And so much of our research in IO psychology is focused on a relatively young sample, whether it's relatively young people currently in the workforce, or even a lot of our research focuses actually on college student samples. And so there is a deep need to understand these diverse experiences that people have across age groups, experiences that people have in today's workplace, given that it's such an age diverse workforce that we're dealing with in this country, and just how different experiences in the workplace play out in terms of age. So that's what I'm interested in. I think there are a ton of questions waiting to be answered about how we can make aging at work work for more people.